Well, hello. Welcome back. This is Kalan. Thank you for joining me. Hope everyone's doing well. And today's talk should be relatively short. I just wanted to share some thoughts. I recently spoke with a couple of friends that also do a lot of home blending, and we talked about things like what do we like? What really do we like? What are the leaf combinations that we enjoy working with, that we don't like working with? What are some of the things that we're still trying to, put together, things of that nature. We also came to some agreements that tobacco, as we know it today, is so much different than what it was before. The way that tobacco was blended and the way that tobacco is particularly talked about today is something that is almost foreign to the people who came before us. And I want to talk about that a little bit today, especially with the release of Cornell and Deal's new iteration of 8-state Burley. From the things that we hear constantly is that certain tobaccos are just condimental. In the modern pipe smoking world, tobaccos like Latakia, Orientals, be it Izmir, Basma, Samsun, Katarini, and all other types, even Perique, are just condimental tobaccos. They are not tobaccos that are supposed to be enjoyed by themselves. They're just to be sprinkled here and there throughout a blend. But there's a problem with that because that's not how they were smoked by generations upon generations of pipe smokers in the past. So the question becomes, what has changed? Has the tradition changed, or have things just been severely watered down? The whole conversation about condimental tobacco, it's been pushed for so long, it doesn't get questioned anymore. It's taken as that's what it is because such and such says so, or that's what it is because, well, I really don't like that. I don't like Latakia like that. I don't like Orientals like that. I don't like Perique like that. So I don't want it to be heavy in a blend. I want it to either not be there or just barely be there. And that's valid because as we know, our palates are all different. Some of us, like myself, love heavy Perique blends. I love Orientals. So I get it. But what I'm speaking about is not our palate. It's the leaf itself. How the leaf was consumed and used before our modern understanding or use of it. When blenders began to incorporate Perique in their blends, for example, it's like seasoning. Salt and pepper just goes together. However, you can overdo it with the salt. Pepper you can be a little more generous with. But then when you start using spices like curry or cumin or coriander and things of that nature, you start moving into territory that can really blow people's palates way out. And so you have to be very careful with those type of seasonings. And when you're using Latakia or Perique or Orientals, you also need to be sensitive to the palates of others because you can easily blow them out. So the language began to really condition us in how we see and use these tobacco leaves. When we think about Orientals, Izmir, which is something that is very dominant in a lot of blends. Oriental tobaccos in and of themselves are very, very fragrant. They have extremely low levels of nicotine. They can be very herbal, very spicy, very floral, and a wide array of all of that. And for a lot of people that have a very sensitive palate, they can be too much really quickly. But if you've ever been to Turkey, in particular, which is the motherland of many of these Orientals tobaccos, that's what the people smoke. That's what they have been smoking for generations. They weren't smoking Virginias or Burleys or anything like that. They were smoking and they continue to smoke straight Izmir, straight Basma, straight Samsun, or a combination of all of them. That is what is normal for them. And the way that some of us look at Oriental tobaccos is the exact same way that they look at some of our Virginia Burley offerings and for straight Virginia offerings. Like, bro, how do y'all smoke that? And if you've never tried straight Perique, I definitely think that you should at least give it a try, because you're going to be surprised that it really isn't what you might think. It really is an experience to be had, and that should be had. Even if you don't really end up enjoying it, you've had the experience. Enough said. And when we look at other places that, we are able to source tobacco from that are exotic leaf, we see that in these places that these leaves come from, that is what the people smoke. That is what the people enjoy. That is what they have known for generations upon generations. Sometimes we have biases towards things just because it's what we've heard, It's not really been our experience. But when we are able to really sit back and look at something, for instance, trying a straight bowl of Latakia and seeing what it really does, how it really feels, how it really performs, what it's really all about. It can really open up the experience and, allow us to see that Condimental is just a phrase that was put on the tobacco for modern blending purposes. It was never what the tobacco was meant to be. So if you've ever tried a straight bowls of anything, Orientals, Perique, Latakia, or whatever, I'd love to hear what was your experience in the comments. I appreciate you hanging out with me. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.